Welcome to the review of Hakes Auction House for September 1st, 2020. This will be a review on the action figure toy aspect versus any other collectibles that they are going to be auctioning off at this time frame. This is the first video I've done. It's pretty much a test run to see how I can work with my system and see just how it goes. So bear with me. This is all new to me. But I am an expert in all action figure toys, pre-production and production, as well as values. So I've been buying from Hakes for quite a while, and over the last couple of years, they've been getting more and more powerful action figure items, and a lot more people are getting keen onto the auctions and what they're going to be having each time they have an auction come out. So that's why it's been exciting to see the September 1st drop and showing all the photos that they're going to have and all the auction pieces and the discussions we've actually been having before they did this, as well as what we're going to see now. So again, bear with me. This is a first review that I'll be doing of Hakes, and let's go through it because I actually haven't looked at the auction at all. So we're going to start getting our little mouse over and seeing Hakes in their wonderful opening. I do collect original artwork for a couple things, mainly, toy artwork, obviously. But I have some comic book and art pieces, but we're not going to go into those. That's where not my expertise lies. So we're going to start off with Star Wars first because nobody likes Star Wars. It's all about Star Trek toys. Playmate Star Trek toys is where it's at. So let's load it up and see what we got here. Let's see if we have. Wow, the bids are already coming in. I mean, it's technically been a while since I should have probably done it earlier, but wow. So we got some Marvel Comics at 9.8, and those will do very well. A lot of people do love the original comic book series from Marvel, but are really inclined for those variant issues as well as high condition early issues. So you can see right off the bat, there's a CGC 8.5 there. That's gonna, wow, I mean, look at that estimate, 5 to 10,000. I don't collect comics that deeply, but that's a huge increase to what these things used to go for, especially for an 8.5. And if it was an issue 3, which are much rarer, if you didn't know, the 35-cent issue actually, if I'm correct, came out to the 4th issue, and those are exceedingly rarer than the first issue. So I'm a little surprised and taken aback. It's already got a bid of 2,400, so there's definitely going to be some action there. The rocket firing Fets, literally. Oh, wait, engineering pilot. Eh. So rocket firing Fets, it seems to be a staple now for Hakes, and that's a good thing. But do remember, even though it's like the holiest grail of Star Wars figures in general, the one that everyone talks about, there's still quite a lot out there. I mean, I'm not going to be a person to be quoted on this, but at least 100, 125, again, pending L slot, J slot, painted, and so forth. The rocket for a, but here we have um, no firing mechanism, which is intriguing. I don't think it's going to make too much of a gigantic issue. It still is a rocket firing Fett. So they have an estimate 75,000. I think that's a kind estimate, and it should break that because I think the last ones have been hitting about 150,000 for an unpainted but complete figure. Engineering pilots are not my game. If it's your game, that's fine. Those are just the standard production figures with maybe a slight paint app difference, but usually just have a number on the bottom of the foot. So it's the market's gotten so diehard for prototypes Star Wars figures that people have been collecting anything and everything that had to do with pre-production. That's where we are at right now. So you can see the quotes at 5 to 10,000, 10,000 to 20,000 for the Han. I can see some pieces getting those prices, but there's a number out there. Engineering pilots were sent to Kenner as to be tested on, and the numbers got pretty high. So how many survived, how many didn't, but there's a number of them out there. The hard copy head, that's another toughie. A lot of people, let's backtrack on that. People love prototypes. They love Star Wars prototypes, but they really want, and this applies to all toy lines, they love to have the figure complete as a prototype. Now, there could be an exception with Star Wars being that everything is just in demand, but a head by itself compared to a full body won't ever get such demand, but it still is an original 12 hard copy, Carbalon head. Everyone loves Carbalon. So I can definitely get the price range. Mail away kit, I mean, it's good stuff. That's anything early 12 is the best. That's where everybody starts off from 78, 79 figures, first 21, and then people collect all the Star Wars. But as it gets down further and further, the Jedi to the Ewoks, then especially droids and Ewoks animated, people tend to get more excited, less excited about those figures. So anything still early like this stuff is going to be fantastic. Yeah, all these look to be just, basic good staple items, and the prices that they're expecting is not unreasonable at all. The skew on footer 12 back A, AFA 80, that's going to go pretty strong. I think that's going to have shootout for that one. That's your most key character as a skew and a telescoping, and it's clean. That's got to be a case fresh looking card. No, no issues really at all with the bubble. So yeah, there's gonna be an absolute shootout for that puppy. Everything else is your usual 12 backs, 85s and 80s, which are out there, but they'll do well. All this could be hit or miss. It can do very well sales wise, or someone could be getting a bargain. This is how it is. It just depends on who needs that figure at that time frame. The Chewbacca here with 12 back with no weapon. And again, I haven't seen this listing at all, so if I'm going a little too slow for some people, I'm sorry, but I was trying to get the surprise of like, oh my god, look what's here. But a Chewbacca without a weapon, see, that's like an early 90s thing. That's like, oh my god, it's an error figure. It's missing a weapon, or it's upside down on the card. And I think that old mentality has kind of crept along as the time went on, but people don't pay any premiums for this stuff. So it's an intriguing thing, but I don't think it should demand any more value than a complete figure. And in the end, that's what it really comes down to. Do you have a complete figure mint on card in fantastic shape? And the answer is no. So, I mean, I could be dead wrong on that, and it can go for way more, but that's just one of those oddities. 32 backs, those are just underrated. There's very rare ones to find. There's very more common ones like Leia and R2, but a Chewie on an 85, because the back of the sticker here, you can see it kind of lips over the sides at times, and to get an 85 is very difficult. So I think this piece should get more love, but the price estimate, it can definitely reach that. It's just people still just, it's technically a later issue figure. It's original 12, but released later because the 32 being an Empire. So I guess some people mentally are like, it's not original 12, so therefore it's not original 12. Um, there we go. See, there we go. The vinyl Cape Jawas are always loved, and they have seemed to be gone down a little bit in the sales department of just your basic AF80s and 85s. But being that this one is a 12 back C, I can totally see a couple people out just going crazy for that because they want to complete and they want the best of the best. And that's what this is all about. When you get the grading system, it is a pissing contest. Underneath that is an AFA 95 loose. I mean, I know Jawas don't have much of a paint app on it, but still, even the capes are fading as time marches on. So, I mean, it's already got a bid. I mean, well, that's just gonna be another one to watch, to be honest with you. Everything else looks normal, usual run of the mill, staples, I always say. I'm looking for that exciting stuff, that stuff that I'm dying to get because I collect a lot of pre-production and I do collect Star Wars still, but I personally love to see a lot of the crazy 80 unique toys. But Star Wars is what I usually run off to first, and most people as well. Luke X-Wing, always a very difficult figure to get even graded in 80, 85, so that should be going to do pretty well. 20 back GR5D4 is difficult. But yeah, it's just there we go. Now we're moving down to more unique items than the whew, mail away pack. Same thing, hit or miss on that, in my opinion. It just depends on who needs that set at that time and to create a shootout. But I mean, it's sealed and it's an 85, so and it's the early 12. So I think that's going to do pretty good. I mean, that should definitely reach its mark. Palatoys, they're out there. French, Han, that's difficult. It's not an Empire difficult, but it's a 40 with that condition issues. That's going to bring its interest down. And I think this is one of those pieces that aren't out there in such huge numbers that people, oh no, is this open? You see the distortion right there. It's a the Meccano line is just other than the Java, they're all difficult. And I've seen a lot of open samples and so forth. But in general, like the condition wise, people shouldn't be too upset just to be happy you should own one. I mean, it's just, especially the Empire ones, they're just incredibly tough to get. A prototype box flat for Han Solo. They haven't really moved up in the market. A lot of box flats in general, they're still well collected, always over the well, 4-digit mark. Maybe Rancor is obviously under, but again, the valuation there is still quite fair, and it should probably reach that. Got our proof here for Empire Han Solo. When you get an 85, 90, or even to be honest, an 80 at times for proof cards, I really don't think it matters much. But what it is it's an Empire Han Solo. So that may create a shootout. It seems just the more common one with this display arena, which I think for Empire, yeah, is one of the more common ones, the 45 backs. So it could be. I haven't dealt in proof cards. It's been a while too since I had I didn't have a stack, but I had like 10 or 12 of them. I sold them years ago and I thought I was getting good money. I thought somebody offered me 3,000 for an extremely rare sharp corner Empire card, only one sample known. I thought that was amazing. Of course, now it's way more valuable. So who am I to quote anyone on proof cards? But the knowledge is still there. Yep, everything looks to be your basics. I mean, I just fly by these. Everything after a while you still like them, you still have care for them, but you've seen so many. After a while, you're just like, "Meh." Okay, now we got some good stuff. We got a 3-pack. It's the most basic, but it's in nice shape. 3-packs are beautiful. I totally understand why people have a passion for 3-packs. They just are unique. How the back lays out, I just, uh, I'd love to get some of my 3-packs back. I only have one left, but that's just how it is. This is the weakest of the 3-pack values. It's technically the most common if you want to start arguing next to the Star Wars themselves. But moving on, we got a box. Oh, they assembled the box flats. I can't blame them. I really can't. Must have been done a while ago. I can't remember reading an article about when these were done. But pretty much they're unfolded box flats, and that person was desiring an Empire version unused and wanted their figures boxed. So the quotes on those, that's beyond my knowledge of valuations at 10 to 20,000. But in today's market for these things, if you're the only person that has it for sale, you're the only person they can come to buy it. That's it. So yeah, a lot of people, their collections are just expanding, and very few people want to let stuff go these days. So you, it's all on lockdown pretty much. So whatever comes up for sale might be the last time you might see it for a couple of years. So I can see a lot of this stuff getting shot up through a bid out. Jawa proof card. I think I still have a Jawa proof card. I wonder if mine's Empire. So I'm gonna watch that and see how that one goes. But it's the Revenge, which is the most common. Now we're on the Jedi basics and all this stuff. I mean, the prices, I'm just skipping through it, but if you really look at it, there's some very valuable pieces, and it all adds up financially. It'll be a strong auction. Ah, we got PBP. Ooh, PBP was so unloved for so many years, and now it just, especially for Lam, a lot of difficult figures and just carded in general. But Lily Lady, I mean, anything that survives all these years in Mexico, still sealed and looks this beautiful, I'd be happy owning a 60, especially the clear bubble. These pieces are some of my favorite foreign pieces. I don't see any hesitation in this piece jumping up in value. This one will definitely hit its mark, especially the Stormtrooper AFA 80. I don't remember one time I was offered a Lily Lady. I think it was an Emperor's Royal Guard at King County in like the early 2000s. And this is why I didn't have money. I was younger, more broke by a long shot. And we'd never seen one, my brother and I. And I think the person wanted $200 for it. And we just thought that was insane for an Emperor's Royal Guard. Fully sealed, but that was the past. This is a beautiful package here. Anything AFA 80 with the bubble. I mean, just yeah, I can see some people excited about that piece right now. Blue Stars, an R5. I've had a few Uzes. I let them go. The market is still strong on a lot of the rare Uzes, especially in clean shape. I mean, R5D4 has got some yellowing here, but it still is an R5D4, and he's an extremely difficult piece to get. And it looks like he's probably dead mint underneath that bubble, and it's the bubble that got the yellowing, which happens often. You think the figure is damaged, but actually is clean underneath. It's just the bubble. But nonetheless, he's one of the more difficult ones to get. Blue Stars is not one of the more difficult ones to get, but he is by far one of the most famous and in demand. So this piece should definitely be a 50. It's the bubble issue as always, if I'm correct. All the cards usually came out fantastic. The bubble 40. That easily should get its 10, 12 mark or higher. You know how these things are, especially in today's day and age. I just watched the prop store auction, and some of those props, the shootouts, never saw coming. And I actually participated in one of the items. I will leave it unnamed because afterwards I was told by somebody else who collects props, and I really don't like too much. They said you were nuts to pay that price, and whoever won it because you pushed it up so hard, well, you're the lucky one as in losing it. So prices have gone high in the last few months for a lot of rare items, put it that way. A lot of play sets. Anything graded now, play sets, 85 especially, it's just in demand. AT-ATs, 75, it's quality control, so that's understandable, but even AT-ATs are difficult. Here's the stuff that we were hearing about, the uncirculated. Now, to find an uncirculated original Star Wars case, that means the case itself was still sealed by the factory and never been opened for all these decades. There are only a handful of known collectors that even have a sealed case left. So this is surprising. And from what people have been discussing on the internet, these were recently graded. So that little U uncirculated, I have no idea. I have absolutely zero idea how the market will respond to this. It's extremely rare to get the uncirculated because so few cases have ever been submitted, let alone with the newest grading style, which in the last couple of years versus an old one. People could go crazy for it, or it could just be considered a little bit extra of a premium on top of the figure at hand. So this Luke, I'm going to watch it in 85, let alone an uncirculated. It's a beautiful piece. I don't doubt the valuation. Value could have 2 to 5,000. The Luke poncho. Oh, look at the bubble on that thing. It's clear. Now, if you didn't know, part of the Force, which I assume you all do, have mostly the biggest issue with turning yellow, and this one is just. I mean, I'll watch it myself personally, but it's also fascinating to watch. This all pretty much came from the same case, and R2D2, unlike the others, the Luke was partially yellow. This one is still yellow. So no matter what, even if you get an uncirculated case, you could get yellow bubbles because that's just how the world works. I'm actually pausing here for a moment. I know it got an uncirculated 70. What happened to this? Card 60. So I guess that might have been towards, oh yeah, AFA loves to grade on the curves, which I've always, a lot of people like to open up, I'm sorry, not open up the case, but if you have curved figures, this is how they're put in the cases, just kind of bubble to bubble to bubble, and sometimes the bubbles are larger and some are smaller, you get these curvatures. People put them in star cases or acrylic cases and get the waves out. with the steel case, you can't do that. So it's kind of tragic in a little way that you have a sealed stock R2D2 Power of the Force, and I got a card 60 because it was wavy. That's kind of sad. You know, you want the best, but that's just how it's going to be. But look at all these uncirculated figures. See, the carbonite looks like it's a clear bubble. So, I mean, it's the first assortment, it looks like. No, the later characters like Biker Scout or Chewbacca, but still, wow. I mean, it's got a slight tint to it, but compared to other Power of the Force figures that are much more yellow than this, I expect all of this will be eyes on these. Of most of this, including the Fett, because uncirculated doesn't show up. Gamorrean Guard, one of my favorites for Power of the Force, should never have sold mine for $1,200, carded AFA 80 all those many moons ago. Yak Face, Canadian as always. That's just another beautiful staple like the Anakin. Everybody wants it. It's considered one of the grails, and it always will be. Tri logos. Anything 85 tri logo like this Han, it should do better in my opinion. The market for 85s should be stronger, but they're not. And that's how it is. Maybe they'll change this year. Maybe they'll go up higher. Skiffs, the Vlixes. Oh, 40 Vlix. Again, same with Lily Lady stuff. Anything from like, it's North America, but even South America, for Brazilian toys, Argentina, anything that's like this, you just can't find them in clean shape. The bubbles, and you do the way the figure as well, it'll always be pretty well beat up. And just any card inflicts in any collection you should be excited to see. So it's going to be a tough call. And I noticed there's going to be some unproduced droids, at least in this listing. And that's the biggest divide with collectors. They love the original series. And yes, droids and Ewoks animated are the original series, but they're not of the movies. So even as an unproduced character, he's incredibly famous for being released in Brazil only. Doesn't mean all eyes are on that figure. There are people, a lot of people, who don't collect the animated figures. That's it. It's just not from the movies. That's how it is. And that's one of the problems with the unproduced droids and Ewoks too, is that people do pay well for them, people do collect them, but there's a lot of people who don't care. So it'll be intriguing to see how these go, especially the loose one in the 80. That's a very decent grade for a glass light loose flicks. I wonder if it's faded. A lot of it, the scuffing, the cracking of the plastic due to the age, but the other thing is they're fading. You can see a little bit of fading here, but considering how nice this figure is, this is better than most Blixes out there loose. So I can absolutely see that. If I had a run of the money and somebody ran up to me and said, "I'll pay me 6,000," I would drop that 6K on that AF80 Blix any day. Some more loose basic glass light. Droid says, there we go. That's one of the ones they've been showing off, and I'm excited. I have a loose Jolpa behind me, and I was curious to see if this was the dark face or the light face. This is the light face. Like, this is the one that they've always shown in the advertisements. The catalog was the light colored face, but there are also production samples, final paint samples with full markings that have a dark face. So this is the mock-up carded figure. If I'm correct, I will double check. I'm not seeing his staff. So I'm guessing, yeah, just a sales sample, but where's his staff? Hold on. Just reading, as I said, I haven't gone through any of this stuff until this moment. Well, the cracking I expected, the bubble, but I mean, even it has a tray behind it, which is just so close. But I mean, carded sample droids and Ewoks, but droids in general, only a couple characters got this far as final samples, salesman samples. But being produced at the factory versus a mock up or a Toy Fair glued bubble, hand cut, I honestly don't know. I think this might be the only sample from what I'm guessing. They always say one of a kind right there, but more of a phrase than an actual statement. But that's a beautiful piece. But the staff, if it's not there, and I can't tell in the photo, but if the staff's not there, that's a big thing for the figure, in my opinion, because the unproduced droids and Ewoks are, as I said, they're up there. People are collecting. People are paying. You can see that the value code right there, 10 to 20,000, which it definitely can get. The issue is when you finally obtain an unproduced droid or Ewok, or you're looking at the whole run, and it'll cost you between Ewoks or lesser, but it could be a couple thousand for the Ewoks, could be 10,000 plus for the droids, but the weapons are the most difficult to get than the actual figures. Like if you wanted a Morag bucket, good luck. There's like two or three known versus how many Morags are out there. So having that staff that's unique to that figure is actually pretty important. But I'm going to suspect whoever's going to bid on this and try to win it will already have a run probably of Monjolpa. So it's still a very beautiful piece, very exciting to me. I mean, as I said, I'm skipping through all the Star Wars basic carded figures. This is one of the ones I'm stopping on because it's just a beautiful piece, no matter what condition it is in. I got some Unleashed. I'm not sure on the part of the Force 2 and later Hasbro stuff. There's definitely a market there, and they're estimated 2 to 400. It's extremely fair. Seeing back to 12 backs, funny enough. Boba Fett mailaways, very popular. Kenner logo negative. The transparencies, there's a lot out there to be honest. And even as the logo, this can do very well. People do love that opening title. That title definitely was used on a variety of toys. So that can do quite well. It's a couple of transparencies, but look at the estimates, 4 to 700, extremely fair. I mean, for pre-production stuff, it's very fun and low budget to collect transparencies. And if you put them on display properly, they're some of the best pieces to display of pre-production versus, let's say, like oddball paperwork or just bits and pieces of prototypes. That's cool. Box flat. Oh, it's a box flat transparency. I took transparency of the Empire Strikes Back stand, but still, it's this item itself will go to a person who's an ESB collector, and they will pay well for that because it is a great piece. More of the basic Star Wars combo pairs, the lesser condition ones, logo negative. Wow, that's interesting. To have all the transparencies, some are going to be much better than the others. So an Anakin, and it's a good size too, 8 by 9 by 7 and 8. That'll do very well. It's a beautiful piece. Again, get a nice light box for it. Beautiful display. Same with the A-wing box. A lot of beautiful transparencies. I thought it was just the basics. After a while, you get used to them, but some of these are really decent pieces. And then we're off the toys. And now we're into some props. I do a little bit of cast and crew. All these prices are extremely fair. And I want this market to get stronger, to be honest with you. At some point, like the 80s prototypes and 80s rarities, Star Wars collectors will start moving in more and more on the props and cast and crew stuff at some point. The prices are just too good for such unique items. Droids, a race to the finish teleplay. That's a fun, unique item. That's the stuff that I think is more cool to look at and have on display than just your basic Empire Strikes Back carded figure. Final draft. It's just fun, unique stuff like that. And that was it. That was surprising. So it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it still is packing a wallop with a lot of these transparencies. The Monjolpa, I think that's still a great piece. I do collect them. I only have two droids myself, a Jessica Mead and a Monjolpa, and I have a one Ewok, a Chief Chirpa. But just seeing that stuff gets me excited still. And the rocket firing Fett will always make the news no matter what. The Vlix is one to watch. I'm actually going to watch the loose one, to be honest. I think, just in case. Literally just in case. But not bad. Very nice. And the Uze Blue Stars. I still wouldn't mind one after all these years. After seeing these for sale at King County for like $100 each. I picked up a couple, literally at $100 each. The last one I ever bought of an Uze at King County, it was a Chewbacca with the gourd, and I paid $125. This is where they were all released, was in King County, St. Charles, Illinois, near Chicago. But I never bought a Blue Stars because when these were coming out and being available, I was like 15 years old, so I just really couldn't afford it. You weren't sure what it was. And when you did get the money, most of the stuff was dried up, and only towards being very aggressive in getting there early, going through people's boxes. I picked up a couple leftovers from people's collections that just brought them in for that show for that one time. But Blue Stars, no matter what, again, I gotta click on it again. That figure, the color, photo art, great combination. Could have been worse and not as popular, but they did a fantastic job. The Empire, 12-inch boxes, yes. So this will be a fun listing. And there's a lot of pre-production more than usual. So now I'm excited to see what the 80s stuff is, which we're going to get to next. So this is just a fun review. It's my first time just doing a happy review of just chewing through stuff and getting some dialogue and just talking. So be kind if any comments are relinquished from you below. And do not hit like or subscribe. Don't do any of that stuff, please. It's really cruel and mean. So let's get on to the 80s stuff and see how that turned out.